Hello, welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I was howling at this one too.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss Howling 2, Your Sister is a Werewolf. Also known as Sturba Werewolf Bitch. Based on the novel written by Gary Brandner and written by Robert Sarno. Directed by Philippe Mora. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story for Howling 2 follows Red Brown's character, Ben White. He is the brother of Karen White from the first movie, and after her death is confronted by Stefan, played by Christopher Lee, who tells him, "Your sister is a werewolf." After dealing with Karen's resurrection, Ben and his girlfriend Jenny follow Stefan to Transylvania to take on Sybil Danning, Sturba, the werewolf queen.
So with the success of The Howling,
Yeah.
the studio were pretty keen to make more of these movies. But Gary Brandner was part of the rights holders for the series because it was based on his series of books.
Yeah.
And as we know, Joe Dante didn't have very good things to say about the novels. And so Gary Brandner was like, okay, they're going to be making the second one. I want more involvement in the writing of this one.
Yeah.
Also, because I'm parts right holder, do not offer Joe Dante the opportunity to direct the sequel because I never want to work or see him again.
Ooh.
So that was Joe Dante completely out the window.
Picture, yeah.
And so the studio were like, yep, that's fine. And then Gary Brandner was like, okay, I've kind of got the script, but I've also need my deadline to write Howling 3 Echoes is right around the corner, so I've got to go now and go and work on that. And so the studio were like, okay, so we got this script and let's change it.
Okie dokie.
It also should be said that this is the only Howling sequel that actually calls back the original movie.
Yeah.
As I think the rest of them are pretty much standalone stories or
Standalone
remakes
stories.
as we go forward in the series.
Yeah. I have watched this movie far too many times for one person to ever watch Howling 2. I had this film on VHS, or my parents had this film on VHS when I was younger, and it was part of our VHS collection. And obviously, you know, when I was in my teenage years, I was going through my horror phase, and there's this Howling 2. And I'd always kind of avoided werewolf movies because when I was really young, I'd watched the beginning of American Werewolf in London, and it terrified me for like years. And so werewolf movies weren't my go-to. You know, zombies, yes. Vampires, yes. Werewolves, And then one day I see Howling 2 and I'm like, I'm going to watch this. And I put it in while my parents are out. And I think I got the sequence is maybe 30, 35 minutes, 40 minutes into the movie where Sybil Danning turns up and just rips off her top. And that was it for me. You know, I realized that this movie really only had one thing, maybe two things, good going for it. And I remember watching it all the way through and then putting it back on the shelf and watched it a few more times during your teenage years, because you do. And then that was it. I was like, nope. Because one day I managed to actually get a chance to watch Howling 1. You know, I'd never seen Howling 1 before Howling 2. And then I watched Howling 1. I was like, oh my God, this movie's great. You know, I've gotten over my fear of American Werewolf in London and watched that, and that's great. And then I look at Howling 2 and I'm like, what the fuck is this shit?
Well, apparently the director never even saw the original Howling movie.
Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, he set out to make a comedy with this film. And it was only after once the production was over, I think the studio tried to edit the film back into a horror movie.
Yeah.
But the awfulness of the dialogue and the script and the editing suggests that this is still a parody comedy movie anyway. I mean, the film opens with Christopher Lee floating in space. Reading from this textbook as this prop skeleton pops up behind him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And you just like, okay, this is the tone the film is going for today.
Yeah. Like, he turns up and he starts reading about the harlots. I think he's reading, like, the last passages of the Bible with the woman rising up out of the seals and shit. And Christopher Lee, oh man, you know, I rarely have a bad word to say about Christopher Lee. He's that good in my eyes. You know, like his performances range because he's got such a vast range. And this movie's so shit that he is, next to Sybil Danning's boobs, the best thing about this movie. You know, and he just disappears, and then we start getting the opening titles over this architecture, you know, from Romania, and then it goes, yep, here we go, we're in Los Angeles. And I'm like, okay, but the first movie was set in New York. So we're at the funeral of Karen White. Remember Karen White from the first movie? You know, she was played by Dee Wallace. And that's not Dee Wallace in the coffin.
Nope. Don't even have the same hair color,
Nope.
the same haircut. It also looks like this actress is still breathing, which, well, it's a good thing, but like, you want to hide that in your film, damn it.
Yeah. And we have the camera focusing on Annie McEnroe playing Jenny and Reb Brown playing Ben White. I may have had a lot of introduction to Reb Brown over the years. I'm pretty sure I've watched some
He
shit.
is B-movie action icon,
Yeah.
also known as Captain America.
Yeah, that's how I've seen him in Captain America. But when I hear the name, obviously I didn't know this when I was a kid watching this movie 5 times. You know, when you see the name Reb Brown, you really don't want the name attached to anything, really.
Well, maybe not in a horror movie, but I don't know. It just
His acting is so bad.
It isn't acting. It's just Reb Brown being Reb Brown.
No, wait, okay, yeah. It's Reb Brown being... Which is so bad, because he's confronted by Stefan after the funeral, you know, and Christopher Lee utters the immortal words, your sister is a werewolf, you know.
I know that she is a werewolf.
Jenny, what did he say?
He said your sister is a werewolf.
Ah, bullshit.
And Reb Brown takes it like the everyday man, like, what?
Who are you, man? Get out of here. What are you doing?
My sister's not a werewolf. And he's like, well, you know. Well, they end up going to his place, don't they? A little bit later, he's like completely like, no, you're not, no such thing.
Yeah.
But he ends up going back to his place, and he's like, yeah, they pulled these silver bullets out of Karen.
Yeah.
And so now she's alive again. It's like, what? That's not how werewolf law works.
Isn't it? I mean...
What?
Yeah, okay, well, normal bullets, like we saw with Eddie in the first movie, you know, he gets shot and then he can rejuvenate and take the bullets out. And this whole stuff with the silver bullets is the start of basically, or the funeral as well, is the start of it being a vampire movie.
Right, because he's like,
not a werewolf movie.
Here's this other werewolf that I've got pictures of and I'm stalking, and silver bullets. She's immune to them.
Oh yeah.
So you now need a titanium stake to the heart. I was like,
right, that I don't. I'm like,
no.
What?
What?
When did werewolves start taking titanium instead of silver?
Just this film only.
Her name is Mariana. She is one of the most vicious and one of the most dangerous kind. Because she is immune. Silver bullets are useless against such creatures. Quite useless. Only titanium will kill them.
Like the other woman that we're following, Mariana, played by Marsha A. Hurst, you know, she for a time seems like the main villain.
Right, well, it was also, I believe, meant to be Marsha from the first film.
Yeah,
although she dropped out.
Yeah, well, things happened to the actress in her personal life, and that's how I saw this Marianne in this movie is supposed to be Marsha, because after the first movie, she was still alive.
Yeah.
You know, and we're still giving kind of information that there's werewolves living among us, but they're hidden. And so I'd say the first 20 minutes of this movie is completely separate to the end movie.
Kind of. Well, the thing this film sets up at its beginning is when they go to this punk rave.
Oh, God.
And we get, I think it's Babel playing the song Howling.
Oh, my God.
And, well, we hope you like this song because you're going to hear it like 5 times more, I think, throughout the film.
You remember the Slasher song?
Right, but I have to say, when the film starts and the music kicks in and the Howl song is playing, I was like, this is actually quite a tune.
Yeah.
But by the film's end, you're just like, make it stop!
Make it stop, please.
In the pale, pale light of the moon, you
Like, they play the song all the way through, and Marianne's there. I mean, when you have Jimmy Nail, you have to be a certain age to know Jimmy Nail. You know, you've either heard his songs, Crocodile Shoes, or watched Alvida Same Pet at least once. And Jimmy Nail there, I'm like, man, this film is so bad. So bad. And Marianne lures, it's kind of reminiscent to like The Hunger, isn't it, with Bowie, where they're like, hey, we're gonna lure all these people away. You know, kind of Lost Boys like as well. You know, we're gonna lure these people away to a secluded area, and we're gonna take them out. And she does, and it's so bad. It's so fucking bad. I wasn't going to get emotional. I really wasn't going to get emotional because it's only the second fucking film in this series. And I wanted to, like, build. But, oh, God, they get there. Marianne kind of just walks into the warehouse and howls. Terribly. Well, she does it really well, but the camera work.
She does it.
It's it, yeah. And then she strips naked and runs off. And then sits in the dark with, like, that weird face
with a
thing on.
half-face prosthetic.
And we're supposed to take into account that she's changed and now she's running around killing all these people. But there's more werewolves there.
But we don't know who they are, or we see them, and you're like, is this all her? Is there a group of werewolves?
Oh.
Is she that fast?
One of them drops a box on Jimmy Nail. They just push this box off a ledge and it hits him. And then he gets dragged off. You know, we see that one guy with the knife who seems really rapey.
Right.
Get his hand ripped off, and I'm like, okay. And then we get the first person
chase sequence as the other girl's chased, and then the other guy gets pushed off the roof.
Yeah.
And, dies when he hits the ground as she comes out, and then she gets grabbed by another wolf, and you're like, well, it's got to be different wolves, because the other one's literally just scared him off the roof, and this one's now grabbing her, unless, of course, it jumped right... Yeah.
But, like we said, take into account Stefan and Ben and Jenny have had this confrontation, and the Ben-Jenny relationship, Benny, I suppose, I'll call him Benny. You know, Benny, I just don't understand. Like, stay with me. Like, she's at the funeral at the beginning, and he's sitting with, like, family members, yeah? And Jenny is sat completely on her own. So I'm like, well, how am I supposed to know that they're together? And then after the confrontation with Stefan out in the cemetery, like, Jenny makes this fucking run in really shitty shoes. like really far. I didn't forget how far she ran, because, you know, Marianne and the other werewolf stood there watching, like, yeah, we're werewolves. We just hang out waiting for our werewolf friend to come back to life.
Yeah.
But Jenny, like, runs and confronts Stefan, and then confronts Ben about what Stefan has said about his sister. And I'm like, is she a work colleague?
I'm guessing she worked at the station as well.
Yeah, because she's a reporter.
Yeah, because when they go to Stefan's house, he's like, hey, I've got the videotape. You're like, you know, no one believed when this news broadcast went out that werewolves actually exist, but here's the footage. And he plays it back so that Ben can be like, okay, I'm going to see this. This will be the proof that my sister was a werewolf. But, you know, we're watching this footage played back, and we're like, that's a completely different news set. That's a completely different actress in a completely different makeup suit.
It's like Teen Wolf. She looks, the wolf looks like Michael J. Fox from Teen Wolf. But this is what I'm saying. Like, Jenny's in Stefan's place, like, oh, they destroyed all these videos. So she must have known, and he's working there, that, oh yeah, something happened to Karen White. She was shot on set by Dennis Dugan. But Dennis Dugan, like, did he use silver bullets?
He did. Well, yeah, because that's why they had to pull the silver bullets out of her, which brought her back to life.
But, and he's just written out. He's gone. Like, they don't even mention he was arrested. They don't even mention they interviewed him. Jenny doesn't even mention, like, gone. You know? And Ben doesn't buy it after watching the footage. I wouldn't buy it.
Well, exactly. I'd be looking at that like, that's a complete fake. It's fake news.
And he storms off. He storms off after Stefan, you know, says that he has to stake, you know, Karen, or she will not find a mortal piece or whatever. And I'm like, this is such a vampire fucking movie.
Yeah.
You know? And Ben and Jenny go outside, and they decide that they're going to go to the cemetery.
Because he doesn't want to see his sister getting staked.
Yeah. And they start moving through, and they start being followed by wolves. You know, so these wolves have come for Karen.
Right.
You know, right, so this is the plot. Like, these wolves are coming for Karen. And we are confronted by Stefan standing over Karen's corpse. And we'd had flashes, hadn't we? We'd had little flashes of Karen in the coffin.
Right.
But the editing is so bad and so janky. And I think I feel kind of qualified to say that after watching so much fucking editing in my time, that when you just get a snapshot of somebody doing something and it snaps to someone else, it doesn't really explain it.
No.
It really doesn't.
No. Not in this sense, anyway.
I know that she is a werewolf.
You said your sister is a werewolf.
Werewolves will never allow one of their kind to remain in consecrated ground.
What's that?
I don't know.
And so, yeah, Stefan's about to stake Karen. And, because Ben interrupted him, they completely miss the fact that she's transformed right in front of them.
Oh, totally.
Without making a sound.
Nope.
Because that was a big feature in the first film, that all of the bones breaking and the hair growing and the clothes ripping.
But I'm assuming they just did not have the budget.
Not at
Or
all.
the time, or
and
the
so we
eye,
basically
or
get
anything.
this furry, basically attacking Stefan from the grave. It doesn't even look like the actress we saw in the videotape. No. Like, what is this now? And then more werewolves kind of break in and start attacking as well.
Yeah.
And so now basically we just get Red Brown being Red Brown and just yelling and shooting stuff.
Yeah. I've got to give him credit for that. Like, the guy doesn't have to reload.
No.
He's got infinite ammo, activated. Reb and go! Infinite ammo activated.
But they end up chasing this old guy who was half werewolf out the door, and this is when I just realized that you can't take this film seriously anymore.
No,
it's when he grabs a net. I thought it was like I thought it was like a mop head.
No,
and he runs out. He's already shot him several times. He's laying on the ground, and then he throws this tiny net over him,
like Kung Pao style.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's a tiny net. I'm a werewolf wounded by silver bullets. What is it? It must be a silver net. Like this is the only explanation, dude. I'm sorry to make a mockery of it, but I watched it and it was so shit, and it's the only thing my brain's thinking is silver
The
net.
thing is, Stefan comes running over straight away and then pulls the net off him. Like, was that obstructing you being able to stake him?
What was it? They have this confrontation now with this guy. And Stefan's just like, look, give me information.
Where's Mariana?
Yeah,
what's the plan?
What's the plan? Yeah. And I'll grant you eternal peace. And I'm like, what? So if he just died there, if they just left him to die from the silver bullets, he'd be in a limbo kind of thing?
I guess so, yeah.
He wouldn't be able to rejuvenate because he's got the silver bullets in him, but he's not dead because...
It's still a very vampire thing.
Yeah, you haven't staked him. Like in the first one, we were told fire or bullets. Dick Miller told us. That,
yeah.
And now Christopher Lee's telling me something completely fucking different. So at this point, Stefan has received the information that Sterber, the werewolf bitch, everybody knows. Who the fuck doesn't know Sterber? Well, nobody. She's going to be coming back to life, or it's like her 10 millionth anniversary.
10,000th anniversary.
Birthday coming up, and he needs to confront her. And so Red Brown and Jenny, Benny, decide that they're just going to tag along with Stefan to Transylvania. Oh, you just couldn't write it, could you?
To the dark country. To Transylvania.
In the pale, pale light, pale light of the moon glow.
The home of Dracula. No, the home of Sterber, the werewolf bitch, because that's where all the werewolves go, is Transylvania. And they head there, and we get this fucking...
Oh, the band plays again.
yeah.
In the pale, pale light, pale light of the moon glow.
We get this fucking terrible sequence where Marianne kind of gets to the airport and she's wearing that really well.
What is she wearing?
I don't know. It's like somebody sprayed it on her. And she's met up with some other werewolves.
I think he was the deacon, his character name. And yeah, and they've got this exchange where they've both got this half moon like pendant.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, oh, I guess you're the person I was meant to be seeing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Like Stefan's got pictures.
Did they have loads of people trying to, infiltrate this werewolf kingdom and keep turning up with the wrong pendants? Like, what's...
Man, by the time of this movie, they had to hide from the fucking place that the doctor had been advertising throughout the whole of the first movie. Like, come to us. But you get this fucking... Oh, God, I remember the sequence from when I was a kid as well, and it doesn't get any better or worse. But they're in their truck, and they're driving along, and the werewolves are all in the back. And the guy in the front mentions about how they're really hungry. You know, it's been such a long flight, and the fucking sandwiches on the airplane were so shit. And then as they're driving along, there's these two German tourists. The most obvious placement of shit extras I could ever see. I mean, I don't even get me started on the shorts one of them is wearing. And they go, oh yeah, hey, German tourists.
Get in the back.
Get in the back. With the 6 or 7 people in there all dressed in black leather wearing sunglasses during the day. Don't worry. And so they get in there. And between the combination of the terrible audio of the ripping and the tearing and the screaming, and then the look on the driver's face as he kind of looks at the camera and smiles and licks his lips, and you're like...
Bon appetit.
Right here.
Well, and then we continue to follow Stefan and Benny.
Benny.
and they get stopped because there's an obstruction in the road. There's all these villagers, and there's this woman laying there. So Stefan comes out, and he's just like, oh, it's clearly a werewolf. We're in werewolf country, don't you know?
It's so Resident Evil 4, that bit.
Right? Yeah.
It's like, we're all the villagers, and here's an old lady, and can you help us? And he comes along, and they just disappear.
Yeah, the villagers they literally like, oh, you're here now, you can help, and you think they've walked down the road, but next time you see the shot, they're gone.
They are fucking gone.
And Stefan's like, yeah, clearly a werewolf, and just stakes her with this titanium.
Well, Jenny has her little thing where she's like, oh, let's hope the old lady's like, nah, nah. And you're like, no, stake her, and Stefan goes, I'm gonna stake her, and just fucking nails her, and she dies. And then he decides he's not going to follow Benny back to the town. He's going to go off and do his own thing.
But he's just said we'll meet at the place that they're all going.
Yeah.
But he decides he's going on his own. Now, I did read that Christopher Lee was appalled at the level of acting in this film.
Fuck yeah.
And the actors that he was forced to kind of work with.
Because he's worked with a lot of people.
From what I read, he would make excuses to leave the set. So he didn't have to be anywhere near them because he was afraid that he would end up giving them a dressing down for how awful their performances are. Yeah. And so I kind of see this as Christopher Lee like, yeah, I know I could get in the car with you, but I'll walk. I need to be away from you guys. I need to be away from... But it's really just to set up the jump scare as there was a werewolf in the back seat of the car that nobody noticed.
yeah. Like, it would have got in the back. I mean, the whole time that they've been driving as well, Christopher Lee's been dreaming, and we've been given the shots of what appears to be Sturber, old lady rejuvenating.
Yes.
You know, there's this whole werewolf cult thing.
Yeah, there's the whole ceremony going on.
There's like an S&M fucking party going on, half naked women all over the place. Excuse my face if it's all over the place. You know, and they bring out this girl who's hypnotized or just unconscious or whatever, and as they're performing this spell, Sturber stands over, and the old lady even looks off to say like, am I doing this right? am I doing so? Closer, and then they just put in the special effects of this energy, and then it cuts back, and we've got Sybil Danning, who, I mean, like, the movie is fucking bollocks, but she is a goddess, really, isn't she?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Battle Beyond the Stars, baby.
It is one hell of an introduction to her as we see her in all of her glory. And then, you know, it pretty much leads you to believe we're going to be getting a bit of a raunchy sex sequence coming up.
Oh,
but
yeah.
what we're treated to instead is something that once you've seen cannot be unseen.
Nope. No.
Does she please you?
Very much.
Marianne, who is technically Sturber's daughter, because she's the queen and she's been giving birth to, or scratching people. I don't know how the fuck it works. Sturber gets Marianne and Vlad, who appears to be a main character. But honestly, nope. He's just like, his parts are just all over the place. He's by the main characters a lot, but he just does fucking nothing. And, you know, they just, was it Sybil Downing just rips off, or is it the guy, he rips off Marianne's top.
Yeah.
And so we get breasts. And Marianne kind of looks a bit uncomfortable with it, but she's going with it. And then they lure them off to the bed and the music's pumping and you're like, oh, fuck, yeah. And then Sybil Downing's starting to get hot and heavy and she tears open one boob and then she unleashes the other one and you're like, woohoo! But we're going to probably see that shot a lot in this movie. But as we keep cutting back, because we'll cut to Benny and then we cut back to them, they have turned in half wolves, like in the first movie, haven't they?
Yeah.
And they're acting like it's a sexual thing.
It's so awkward. It's so bizarre. It's so unerotic.
Yeah. I think this is why. I think because I watched this movie a lot, I think this sequence is why I don't buy the whole vampire eroticism kind of thing. Because in fairness...
Oh, that's definitely there, though.
Yeah, but I know, but, you know... the animal magnetism lovemaking thing, it's like, this doesn't get me because it just ends up all being fur and messy, you know, and things are splayed all over the place. And it just doesn't work. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work. You know, that's my standpoint on it. And it gets even worse with this movie because Ben and Jenny get to the town just outside of Sturber's castle. So Sturber's up there doing her thing with her family members. And these guys have turned up at the village. And they go into the hotel. And the hotel owner is the guy driving the truck. And so you know,
yeah,
if you've seen the first movie, that probably everybody here in this fucking town.
He tells them that they've got the keys to room 666.
Room 666. My nephew Dunda will show you to your room.
This hotel doesn't look like it has 6 floors.
I know. Funny, isn't it?
Ben's just like, you don't even have 6 floors. And he's like, we know.
How do I even follow that? You know, that acting was better than the fucking shit that we're dealt with in this movie. But it's like the director must have said, or maybe Red Brown said, like, when they get up there to the hotel room, it's like, oh, we have to establish these guys are in a relationship because we haven't done that
already.
We haven't made it obvious that these two people are actually supposed to get together. And this is what confuses me, is because at this moment, Jenny's just like, oh my God, I'm so scared about what's going on in the world. I just need you to fuck me, Reb. And he's like, okay. And they do it. But Vlad, the main guy, is like stood outside dancing.
He can smell them in the air.
Yeah. But I'm like, dude, aren't you up at the castle doing things with your family member?
Well, it keeps cutting back to them as well. But then it also cuts to the following afternoon.
If you didn't know, you know, the movie has to make this obvious. And we are the local short man or dwarf or whatever you'd like, the actor, you know, this guy, notices Reb and Jenny and takes them to the church.
Yeah, because they're just like, you know what, we're here waiting for Stefan, like we're in a strange place, and the first person that's, you know, bizarrely gesturing them to follow, they're like, yeah, that's why not.
Yeah, we'll go with you.
You're in werewolf country, god damn it! What are you doing? But yeah, thankfully he leads them to Stefan, so you're like, okay, but you know.
I was impressed by the dwarf's coat. Like, when you look at it, he has pockets or bags or something attached to this fucking coat he's wearing, and there's like hundreds of them. And I'm like, well, it must, like, that would be cool if like each one had like something to help take out the wolves. You know, some wolves bane or some plant to stun them or something like that. Nope. Never brought up.
No.
Never brought up.
Just a cool accessory.
Yeah. And Stefan basically explains that this group of people that he's with have all had family members who have fallen victims to the wolves, and so they all want to help. You get the sensation that Stefan is basically just using Ben and Jenny to lure out Marianne,
Yeah.
so that he can get to Stirba. And they go to the fair. They're at the fair, and everybody just spots everybody. It's so bad. It's like, hey, look, Stefan's over there. Hey, look, Vlad's over there. Hey, look, Marianne's over there. Hey, look, there's those two Americans that we've never ever seen before over there. There's the dwarf. They might as well just be all stood together. Like, so when you're gonna make a move,
Right.
Because we've only got the movie's only an hour and a half long. It feels like 7 days. But Ben follows Marianne to the castle and explains to the weirdest fucking dude ever, hey, can you watch Jenny for me?
Right.
I'm really suspicious that everybody in this town might be a werewolf or connected to the werewolf cult. But you, mate, you look trustworthy.
And so he ends up kidnapping her and taking her to the dungeons of the castle, where she's getting prepped for stuff.
At this point as well, Ben and the short guy have made their way to the castle to find out information. They come across Stirba, and Stirba is told that Stefan is nearby, and is it here that we get the revelation that he's her brother?
Yes.
So you know him then?
He is my brother. He plans to destroy me, but I will destroy him.
And then straight away I'm just like, so Christopher Lee is also 10,000 years old? So was he a vampire?
Yeah.
Or is he a werewolf? Or is he something else?
Or is he something else? Is there a time dilation? But the wolves realise that Reb and the dwarf are outside, and so they chase them, and Sturber starts this incantation, this spell. And luckily they've put these wax plugs in their ears to avoid the noise. Because obviously this is what werewolf witch queen things do.
Well, I've never seen one before, so...
Yeah, they must all stay in Romania.
Yeah.
That's
where the magic happens.
And as they're running, the small guy falls over and his earplugs drop out. And the noise is just too much for him. It's just overpowering. He can't stand. He's telling Reb, go, get back to the town. I must stay here and die, because we haven't really had any deaths.
Not really, no.
At this point.
I have to admit, the effect was pretty cool watching his eyes explode in this bursts of blood.
Yeah.
But there's the fact that it lingers on that shot for so long, you're just like, okay, it was good, but now you've ruined it.
Yeah. And when you really look at prosthetic effects, when you look at practical effects for too long, it's like you're looking at rubber.
Oh, yeah.
And if you've watched enough in a lot of movies, you can spot. And there is a nice transition between the actor with his ears there and blood on his eyes to the head. But then, like Gary said, with the camera lingering on it for so long, you're like, it's shit.
Yeah, you've ruined it.
And yeah, Jenny as well has been creeped out by this weird hotel owner's son guy, whoever the fuck he is. And he's wanting to rape her, basically. And I had to write it down because the line was so terrible. And the guy says, taste the pleasure of blowing a werewolf.
But first, you taste the pleasure of blowing a werewolf.
And I paused the movie at that point and wrote that shit down, because you don't really hear that stuff every day. And I think it's Stirber. Stirber comes along and kills him and rescues Jenny, just kidnaps Jenny, because she doesn't want... It's either Stirber or Marianne. They turn up and they kill the guy because they don't want him to kill the Jenny.
Well, I think Sturber was complaining before that the population of wolves is on the decline, and so she needs to repopulate the werewolf, breed, which is why she was forcing Mariana and the other guy to mate so that he could impregnate her, because she's sterile, so she can't conceive. So maybe she saw Jenny as someone who could be another mother of werewolves. Oh no.
It's a trap, you know, because Reb gets to Stefan, and you know, and he's just like, dude, shit's gone down, you know, I fucked up, the dwarf's dead, you know, Jenny's gone, you know, what are we gonna do? Does he ask Christopher Lee for advice? Nope. They're already ready to fucking arm up.
Christopher Lee's like, well, I've got the Holy Grail, I've got the Holy Hand Grenade, I've got silver bullets, and I've got this other stuff. Oh, and here's a gun.
Yeah.
You take the gun.
Yeah, can you use any of this? And Ben's like, I don't know how to use any of that. Here's a gun. Oh, yeah! Fucking, woo! Infinite ammo activate. And I'm like, oh, wait, so all these holy artifacts are just, you know, they're just nods to taking out vampires.
Right.
Like even Jenny, when she first turned up at the castle, she said, this is to protect me from werewolves, and holds up a whole load of garlic. And the guy at the hotel even reacts to it, like, oh my god, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, you know, hit us up in the comment section, like, you don't know your werewolf lore. And I'm like,
no, this film doesn't know its werewolf lore.
Because they make their way to the castle. It's now the final assault.
Probably the best sequence in the film. Probably. I mean, it's not a high point, but
no. I mean,
it's the attack of the werewolves, where, you know, like straight away one of those guys gets grabbed, gets pulled down. Mm-hmm. You know, there's shots firing, Reb's blasting. You know, Christopher Lee's ganking werewolves left, right, and center.
Yeah.
And you just. The thing is, this film's editing is so bad.
Yeah.
It keeps cutting to footage unrelated to this, where we're seeing the werewolf face either from side profile, front on. We're seeing a shot of the moon. We're seeing Mariana right from the beginning again behind that wall. We're recutting back to the orgy that's going on in the castle, which is recutting back to the punk rave at the beginning of the film. Oh god,
yeah, the band. They got the band from LA to Transylvania!
But they're not there. They're not actually there.
I knew!
But that's the way the film's trying to edit it together to make you think they are.
They
but
are!
They're not. And it's like, you completely miss what's going on and what's happening because the editing doesn't know what it's trying to tell you.
You just give
up.
It's
just like, we ran out of footage, so we just keep reusing shots over and over again. But in this action scene, we can tell that the wolves we're seeing in these cutaway close-ups are not the wolves that are attacking them in the woods.
No.
And that is because, you know, this is no fault of the film crew.
Right.
More on the studio. This is what I read, is that obviously they went, you know, to the country to film it.
Yeah.
And so they needed all of the suits to be shipped over as well.
Yeah.
When the box of suits arrived, printed on the side of it was Planet of the Apes costumes. Not Howling 2 costumes. And so they're like, well, you know, we are on a budget and we've got to film this in the next 5 days. So on goes the Planet of the Apes costumes. And I believe there is a line earlier in the film where Christopher Lee says that this breed of werewolf have de-evolved or evolved to the point.
Yes.
And he added that line in to help cover the fact that they had monkey suits, not werewolf suits.
It is so bad. I mean,
but it does mean you're looking at them, and even when I was watching the film, I was like, they look like monkeys. They look like apes. They
just look like black shapes, you know. I mean, Steerber's got them all rolled up to turn, and then we're supposed to think that there's hundreds or 30, you know, and then you're seeing the shapes, and you're like, if I squint, it kind of maybe looks like that thing from Attack the Block,
right?
But it shouldn't, because it's supposed to look like a wolf. And we watch the group get taken down one by one. All of the people that we didn't know, you know, they're taken out one by one. I mean, fucking the holy hand grenade of Antioch that Christopher Lee uses. It's just like...
It's a bit overkill. I mean, that werewolf was dead already.
Yeah, because they fucking shot the shit out of it, and then he just went... boom! And once again, the camera lingers, and you're like, whoa, okay. Should have really saved that for Steerber. And they get to the castle. Jenny's been tied up in the basement of the castle, and Vlad's been like, "Oh, I'm gonna anoint you with blood." And I like, am I wrong? But they cut back to Jenny later on, and she's fucking covered in blood.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what happened? We left you alone for 5 minutes. Like, there was one mark on your head, and now you're covered head to toe in gore. Like like they've done something, and then they've cut it out of the movie. Like, we can't have this. And the castle comes under attack, and Stefan Stefan, Reb, and the last priest all split up, which is a terrible fucking idea.
The priest wanders into Sturba's domain, and Sturba's doing her magic again. She's enchanting something, and she's got this really cool-looking staff with this like vampire bat thing sat on top of it, and she does a spell that animates it, and it flies at the priest's face, and it
fucks his mouth.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can show this.
Oh yeah, fine.
Meanwhile, Red Brown goes and rescues Jenny from the basement, and he's doing his Red Brown stuff. He's yelling at the camera and shooting werewolves.
Well, he kills Marianne.
Yes,
like Marianne dies, and she's been spending like the last 10 minutes trying to keep Vlad under control because he's been turning and he like losing. Like we keep getting these shots of them heading to Jenny, and he's changing, and then he wants to kill Jenny, I suppose. And Reb turns up and blam 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 kills them both.
I thought she was immune to bullets. Doesn't she get ganked? She does get stabbed by.
Oh yeah. Well, she gets killed.
Yeah, she did.
She out of the movie. And Stefan confronts his sister.
Oh, the dialogue here is so bad. It's so bad. But
like,
Christopher Lee still is being Christopher Lee.
Like he's up here, and Sybil, I mean, you're a midpoint down here. But at the same time, saying that, like, he's the gentleman. Like, he never really want to, like, say what... He can say what he wants about Red Brown. He can hate Red Brown, but, like, he works with Sybil as much as he can. I
just love the fact that he just kind of floats up behind her. He doesn't even look like he's walking. I was like, this is Dracula!
He does float. And she's using her powers on him. She's using her powers. She's going to stop him from killing her, or they're going to fuck, or there's something. I don't know. It's good versus evil at this point. And they burst into flames.
Well, he shanks her.
With this
so then she bursts into flames, and then he bursts into flames, and they dance around the room for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's the end of them.
I mean, Christopher Lee on fire is awesome.
Yeah. Well, he's always on fire.
He's always on fire,
And so Benny ends up running back through the town.
Yeah.
And they hold this guy at gunpoint.
He just runs up.
Where's the airport?
Where's the airport? And you're like, all right, Reb, you almost got it there.
Which way is the fastest way to the airport?
And then they fly back home. Everything's hunky-dory. It's Halloween night, and the doorbell goes. And there's a wereboy at the door.
Yeah, what the fuck is this shit? Like...
Trick or treat!
I was like, that's a pretty good makeup for somebody for Halloween, which also makes me think, no, that's an actual werewolf kid. And he's now able to, show his face. And so they follow him, and they're like, oh, he's got to be the neighbor's kid.
Yeah.
And so they knock on the door, and this weird priest guy is just like, no, I have no children. Do you want to come in? Yes.
A little later.
I hope so. I hope so.
Oh, God.
Like, he's a full-on priest wearing full-on priest shit. He just lives.
I'm like, okay, it's Halloween night, so I'm guessing this strange person is going out as a priest tonight. And so they're just like, yeah, no, thank you. And they walk off, and it cuts to credits.
Yeah. The movie really should have just ended when Reb said, where's the airport? If you'd ended the movie on that one line, oh, man. Fucking, it would have been pinnacle. But we have to sit through that ending sequence, and it's so bad. And I wouldn't mind, but everything else in the movie was so bad as well. It was just, it's like I've just eaten a bowl full of shit. I've made my way through 2 scoops of giant turd in a bowl, and then some fucker comes along and goes, hey, you want seconds? And I'm like, yeah, all right. Because the credits are no fucking bear. I couldn't believe this when I read this. I couldn't believe it, Gary. 17 times they used the shot of Sybil Downing opening her top from the movie. 17 times. Thanos only clicked his fingers like once. But we could have had that fucking click like 17 times. Nope. Sybil Danning's boobs.
Well, apparently it was only supposed to be in there like once, and once the director left the project, and the studio were just like, "Oh, we're running out of shots to fill this. Hey, we're gonna put that shot in 17 times," and he was just like, "Well, if you're crazy enough to do it, go right ahead." And even Sybil Danning said she was furious when she saw the film because she didn't want to do any nude scenes in this film at all.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm getting too well known. Every director, every writer is always saying to me, yeah, you can have the part, show your boobs in the film.
Yeah.
And she was getting sick of it, so she agreed to do it for one shot that they would then use 17 times. And so she was like, you motherfucker, you. Not best pleased.
No.
Well, Ian, what were your favourite scenes from the film? Do you have any?
I don't. I really don't. I wanted to. I thought when I sat down to watch this movie, I thought, hey, I have memories of this movie. You know, I've seen it a few times. I'm sure these sequences that I remember are going to pop out at me and I'm going to laugh and be, haha, this movie is so bad, it's good, haha, people. But no, it's fucking shit. I really fucking tried. And it's the fact it's the second movie as well, you know. It's the fact they tried to continue from the first movie. They try to get you to accept this law that only a fucking snail would go, oh yeah, that's how you kill a werewolf. Stake it in the heart. I've like one sequence that I did like was the big shootout sequence. You know, when the werewolves all attack the group of Reb and Chris and the three unnamed people, and there's just lots of shooting. Christopher Lee just looks a bit of a badass, just pow, 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 and that's it. Maybe Sybil Danning's boobs as well.
Yeah. I have to say, probably favourite scene is the werewolf orgy. not the threesome in the bed. That's disturbing. But you know, just because you've got I think it's like the Howl song is playing in the background. Yeah. You've got some weird guy doing a handstand in the corner of the room. It's just a feast for the eyes. You're just like, what is going on? It's all these people. It's like it's not an orgy. They're just groping each other.
Yeah.
It's just really.
It was so much better.
Carnivalistic and weird.
So much better in Conan.
Yes,
the Conan sequence
Conan
is
did
so
that
much
right. This was just like parodying that. But I guess that was I guess I don't really have any favorite scenes. They're just memorable moments in the film. Just like Red Brown throwing that net over the werewolf at the beginning. God, yeah. So bad. I have to say I did enjoy the intro music. Because I thought, it was good until it was used again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the Sturber regeneration scene, like our first introduction. You're just yeah, memorable. But then, of course, it's followed by like the worst werewolf sex ever.
Like you've seen a lot.
Well, I mean, I've gone by the first film here. That's about it.
Yeah, true. I suppose the first film, yeah.
The transitions in the film, the wipes. They literally had almost every wipe in the book, like from the circular wipe. It was, and they kept using it over and over and over again.
You expect like the Transformers symbol to go.
Oh, it was so bad.
Man, I just remembered actually while you're talking still about your favourite scenes. I just remembered the dwarf coming back. From the dead.
Yeah.
And then Reb throwing him out the window. That was memorable.
God. I mean, you're never gonna forget Sturber's bizarre outfit after she's got like this. It's like metal,
armor,
leather armor set. I was just like, that's really cool, but what the fuck is that?
It's the way that I did notice that, and then the way that she was trying to sit down.
Yeah.
Because it might break or pinch something that she didn't want pinched.
I have to say as well, she wore sunglasses for like most of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so iconic. They used it in the posters.
Yeah.
But that was unfortunately to hide the fact that she had conjunctivitis at the time. But it kind of works for the film, though, for the image of Sturber, I guess.
Yeah, man.
The eye popping was cool, but again, they lingered on it too long, which kind of ruined it.
Yeah.
You're never going to forget Sturber's breast reveal, and the film ending's going to make sure you don't forget it either.
I never will.
And yeah, I guess the highlight of the film is the werewolf shootout sequence when they're making their way to the castle. Because it's the best bit of action in the film. But yeah, still underwhelming.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, do you recommend Howling 2?
No, just no. Like, I'm a bit of a sequel whore as well when it comes to movies. You know, I like Psycho 2. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is fun to watch. I'm a big fan of Halloween 2 as well, following the first one. Howling 2 is fucking none of those. You know, Howling 2, it's just... it's a mishmash of different things going on. You know, and there's so much going on that it misses the mark somewhere. Here's the mark. It's over the fuck here. You know, they're like, Sybil Danning, yeah, you know, all your parts were mainly B-movie parts, and so maybe that's what this movie becomes then. Same with Red Brown. But then you put Christopher Lee in it, and I'm like, is it supposed to be moved up a couple of notches? Because I cannot justify doing that. You know, he just appears at the beginning reading from a Bible. Stop there. Just don't watch a movie. If you're going to watch this movie for any reason, it mainly for a laugh. And then I'd like to see you fucking find it funny.
You know, Christopher Lee, when he was working on Gremlins 2 with Joe Dante,
Oh, yeah.
he came up to him and he went, you know, I'm really sorry that I starred in Howling 2, the sequel to your movie. I'm really sorry, Joe. It won't happen again.
I'd love if he just did that, like, throughout the whole time he was filming, like, sorry, Joe!
Yeah.
Sorry! Like, message him. Joe's waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, like, sorry, Joe. Fuck off, guys.
No, I will not be recommending Howling 2. This is a dreadful, pointless, and tame experience. It's an utter mess. That being said, if you are curious and you want to see one of the worst sequels to a film ever made, and witness a bizarre mashup of atrocious acting, abysmal visual effects, corny dialogue, poor action, and a dull story, and listen to the same song for over 90 minutes,
Yep.
you gotta see this to believe it. The real draw to a werewolf movie, especially post-Howling and American Werewolf in London, is the transformation scenes. The werewolf itself, and the horror or the gore. This Howling sequel has some of the worst looking effects. It's poorly lit, badly edited, and only decent gore shot is lingered on for so long, it just looks awful. Watch this to see Captain America and Dracula fight a pack of werewolves.
Or monkeys.
See this for the bizarre werewolf sex scene that is just so camp and silly you'll be shaking your head to the very end credits. Watch it for Sybil Danning's wild wardrobe and overacting. Watch it for the werewolf orgy and the cheesy climax. Just so you know what a terrible, terrible sequel really looks like. But hey, maybe, you know, you'll enjoy the 80s fashion and B-grade material and the pure cheese of it all. Because going forward with this film series, things are going to get much, much worse. The rocking, shocking new wave of horror. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.